I have an update on my Chris list that I'm confident in at this point in time. I wanted to give everybody, and if you don't know what a Chris list is, it's basically just a list of our favorite Chris's, because there are so many famous Chris's out there. They're all hot, but there's a top 4, and they are, this is not my list, I'm just naming. It's Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, and Chris Evans. Mm-hmm. Now here's my final list. It used to be.
Okay, yes, I was going to say, please give me the past list because I forget.
And new. Okay.
Yeah.
It used to be Chris Hemsworth as number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 was Chris Pine. Number 3 was Chris Evans. And number 4 was Chris Pratt. Mm-hmm. It is now number 1, Chris Evans. Number 2,
Chris Evans, number 1?
Number 1.
Yeah, okay.
Number 2, Chris Hemsworth. Number 3, Chris Pratt. And Chris Pine has been bumped all the way from number 2 to 4 because he's boring. He's a noob. He does nothing for me. So he's officially got the bump down.
He unfortunately has been a little bit of a pretty face.
Wet blanket.
Yeah, like you don't get to see his personality as much. I did make Joe watch This Means War with me a couple weeks ago because I love that movie. And Chris Pine is so hot in it. If you haven't seen it, Chris Pine, Tom Hardy, they're spies, and they both fall in love with Reese Witherspoon. It's a horrible movie, but it's also fantastic. And you know what, Rhea? I love the update because I feel like we've seen a lot of really good things from Chris Evans.
Exactly.
And he's been in a lot of great movies recently. He loves his dog so much. He, joined Instagram, and we see him with him and his dog. And he just did a, I don't even know what podcast it was. I think it was something to do with the Hollywood Reporter. And he did a podcast, and I don't know why this really hit so hard for me, but the Hollywood Reporter, whatever, the guy who runs the podcast, I tweeted out thanks so much to Chris Evans. We talked about mental health and acting in Broadway and why he almost wasn't in the Marvel movies, this whole thing. And Chris Evans had just retweeted it and was like, thanks so much for having me on your podcast. It was so nice because you don't see a lot of the mega celebrities acknowledging when they go on podcasts. I feel like, they do so much press and they do a lot of things. And you hope when you have a big star on, you're fingers crossed, maybe you'll get a retweet or they'll share it or whatever. You never ask because that's rude. It's totally up to them. But just seeing Chris Evans be like, I love this podcast. I was like, oh, what a guy. So sweet.
That is so sweet. This is my formal invitation to Chris Evans to come onto this podcast because we treat you wonderfully. Yeah, it's a good point. Like you mentioned, celebrities don't always promote when they go on podcasts, rightfully so, because they do have so many things that they're doing. Like the Jonas Brothers, when they came on our show, they didn't fucking retweet anything. And, I'm not going to hold that against them, but I do think about it from time to time.
The Jonas Brothers account did.
Yes.
What?
They retweeted the video.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, the Jonas Brothers account.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but Nick, Kevin,
not
and
any
Joe,
of them individually.
The actual brothers did not promote it.
See, now sometimes I feel like they do that because it's like a slippery slope. Once you start doing some, then are you expected to always do it?
But we were special.
No, I'm with you.
Ours was such a special
believe me,
occasion.
I really wish that that's something we could say. But I had a very weird moment. Actually, now I'm going to share this because we're talking about the Jonas Brothers. First, I will say Chris Evans' tweet was, "Thanks for having me on your podcast. I really enjoyed it." 2 exclamation points.
That's beautiful.
So sweet.
Come on
so
the podcast, Chris. You would enjoy it here. I know you would.
You would enjoy it.
You're my favorite Chris.
Yeah, you're number 1. You are number one.
I'll tell you, Knives Out is what sold it for me.
Yeah, that's so fair. I mean, him and those cable knit sweaters, it's really hard to argue with that. It's really hard to argue with that being the top spot. I personally, I'm still very torn between Hemsworth and Evans. It's very hard. both Avengers. I love Chris Hemsworth because I also feel like he's such a great dad, which is a very sexy quality. Like, I feel like I love his videos with his kids and like seeing that he says like he, you know, turns down more projects here or there so that he can have, you know, more family time. He doesn't like be far away for that long. Very sexy, but also like Chris Evans, but also like married with children, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Chris Evans, kids, which appeals me
and single.
more.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really a DILF person. I don't like see guys with their kids and I'm like, oh, I want to fuck them at all. I've never felt that way.
Man,
about
Rhea,
their kid. I know it's.
Let me tell you, there are some DILFs around this town where I'm in right now. Just
I bet.
Super hot young dads with their little kids. You see them run around the beach, and it's just, it hits you. Like there's one, and obviously I won't reveal anything, but like there's one that we all know, and we're all like, oh, that, you know, DILF.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Does your boyfriend consider him a DILF as well?
Yeah. He recognizes that this is a very attractive man.
You have to at that point.
Yes. And then I think then like guys strive to have that when they become fathers. Like Joe is like, I can't wait to be a DILF. I'm like, okay.
Right. Like moms want to be MILFs.
Yeah. Like he's like, you know, when I'm like taking my kid to soccer and I'm in my like Saturday morning like hot boy outfit, this is how people's brains work. But I'm telling you, when I see this man, he's, you know, his backwards hat and he's pushing the stroller and he's in like his workout stuff, and you're like, that is a hot man. That is a hot man. And then there's something very attractive about seeing a man interact with kids.
Right, when they're good with kids. It's a huge turnoff when they're bad with kids. I will say that. That is something I do take notice of. If a guy is around a kid and he's like, ugh.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It just pulls on the heartstrings. You're like, it's just so cute. It is.
So that's why Chris Hemsworth does it for you.
Yeah.
You had a weird moment to say, but before you get to that, I just want to wrap up on the Chris thing. The reason Chris Hemsworth was bumped down to number 2 is because of Avengers Endgame. Sorry. If he was regular Thor in Avengers Endgame, he probably would still be number 1. But the fact that he just really
beer belly Thor.
I'm not that big of a fan of beer belly Thor. And I understand that's not what he actually looks like. And I know
Captain America always been hot.
But Chris Evans has just really jumped my radar. Like I'd never really paid attention to Chris Evans. He was last on my list.
Yeah.
Or 3.
I do remember when he was so far low and I was like, you are underestimating Chris Evans.
I was. You were right. I really was underestimating him.
Yeah. For me, it still has to go Hemsworth, Evans. See, this is tough too because I think I would go Pratt, Pine.
Thank God. We got to stop giving Pine this credit.
Yeah.
I know he may be good looking, but
I know. And he's got a little bit of a Silver Fox situation going on, which sometimes I like, sometimes I don't. But the thing with Chris Pratt is I think he's very funny. He's a cute guy. Also, you know, in the Marvel universe and love Andy Dwyer, but now he's like so in love with Catherine Schwarzenegger. You know, they're having a baby. Yep. Congrats to them. And this is totally an assumption by me. I don't know any details, but he has a kid. He has a son with Anna Faris. And I just feel like he's not as involved in that child's life anymore because of this new life that he now has. And that really bothers me. But I don't know if this is real at all. Like that kid could be at Chris Pratt's house every day. And I wouldn't know. But all I do know is social media and the stuff he posts, and he only ever really posts stuff with Catherine, which is fair. He probably doesn't want to post things of his son because people like to keep their celebrities like to keep their children private. But I just can't get rid of that feeling sometimes that I'm like, is he as committed to being a father as I hope, because they were such a cute family when it was.
So the father thing really affects
it really, yeah. I mean, when that's a huge factor.
If you are neglecting your kid, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, exactly, that's going to bump you down a point or two.
Exactly, and you don't even know if it's true. You just don't see him posting about it, so you just
zero idea. It's an assumption, and it's probably an unfair assumption.
Well, what has Chris Pine done for you to go over Chris Pratt?
No,
I don't even like Chris Pratt that much. Yeah. Like I've always just been been like, Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt has got the funny guy situation to him, and I do think he's very entertaining. Pine has just always really had the hot guy factor for me because I think of Princess Diaries 2. Okay. I think of Just My Luck with Lindsay Lohan. Amazing movie. And Wonder Woman. I mentioned This Means War already. It's like he's been very hot in movies, but you don't see it really any of like real life Chris Pine. You know?
Exactly. And that's why he was bumped down to the bottom.
Right. Like, and Chris Evans now having this Instagram where he just like shares cute stuff of his dog. Very likable.
Dogs win points as much as children do.
For sure. If he's a caring dog father, that also really factors into the whole father part of it, I would say.